All right, guys, my name is Chandler Morrison, and these are your Chattanooga post-week 8 playoff predictions. We're going to go through, and we're going to start with Class 1A all the way up in Division 2 AAA. I try to have all my ducks in a row, so we'll see if this works and if it makes sense. If it doesn't, please comment. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them while this video is coming out here. So we're going to start with Class 1A. But first, I wanted to explain this first because some people don't know. In TWSAA, basically the way the playoff is set up is in each classification, which is 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A, and that's in the public schools. The private schools is a wholly different system, but it's still within TWSAA. 32 teams make the playoffs. Well, how do you ask? Well, the top 4 teams from each region, there are 8 regions across the state. And your Chattanooga area regions vary from 2, 3, and 4. It just depends on what classification, how many schools are in Knoxville, because they kind of start from the top corner, the top east corner of the state where Johnson City is, and kind of move their way down to Chattanooga over to Nashville and move from east to west. And that probably looks weird on your screen because I'm probably going west to east the way you're looking. But anyways, top 4 teams from each region advance to the playoffs, and they're seeded 1 through 4, and they match up. The 1 matches up with the 4 from the other region. The 2 matches up with the 3 from the other region, and vice versa. The 3 matches up with the 2 from the other region. The 4 matches up with the 1 from the other region. So let's start with Class 1A. We did these last week. I didn't do a video last week. We did these last week, okay? And so any of these little, like you'll see this right here. I'll go ahead and show you. So basically what you'll see right here is you see this little thing right here. It's +1 and -1. That just means from post week 7 to post week 8, there's been some movement, and there's not really been any movement with Chattanooga area teams, but outside the Chattanooga area, we kind of reseed when a lot of things happen. In week 8, we didn't have a lot of region matchups. So basically, right now, let's look at the Class 1A playoff projections. So if you'll see, oh, this is Meigs County. I'm sorry. That was a good example, but that was Meigs County. Let's go up to Class 1A. I'm so sorry. South Pittsburg, okay. South Pittsburg is the number 1 seed out of that region. They're a really good team. I think they have a chance to win the state title, honestly. And basically, if you see this little X right here, that basically means they have a playoff berth. South Pittsburg does not technically have a playoff berth, but we have them seeded as number 1 because we anticipate that they will beat the other 2 schools on their schedule, which are Whitwell and Sale Creek. They have Whitwell in week 9, Sale Creek in week 11. Actually, they have 3 other schools, and they have Sale Creek in week 10, Copper Basin week 11. So Whitwell, Sale Creek, Copper Basin to end the season. And that Copper Basin matchup is going to be crucial. I don't anticipate Copper Basin winning that matchup, but they currently have a playoff berth, and they've actually been really, really impressive. So I would be utterly surprised. I think everybody in Chattanooga would be utterly surprised if South Pittsburg were to lose to Copper Basin. I don't see it happening. But basically right now, that will determine who gets the number 1 seed in this region. As you can see, this is another region also with it too. But also we have Lookout Valley ahead of Sale Creek. I know some people have commented, well, they're lossless. I do anticipate Lookout Valley having an upset over Sale Creek, which basically those 2 schools will meet this week in week 9. And that will probably determine, not completely because Lookout Valley still plays Whitwell in week 11, but it could pretty well determine who has that 3 seed and who has the 4 seed. I don't have Whitwell making the playoffs right now. I think Lookout Valley will beat Whitwell, although Whitwell has kind of had a surge lately, so it's possible they can make it. I just don't have them in my projections for this week. So let's move on to the other region over here. Monterey, the number 1 out of this seed. I'm just going to go through quickly. They're a pretty good team, and honestly, they beat Bledsoe County last week, so we do know that they have some merit. We do have some common opponents around the area to kind of compare them to. Interesting enough, I believe this Joe Burns South Pittsburgh matchup. Let me check this real quick. I'm going to fact check right while I'm doing this. This is great. This is great show. I'm going to fact check right in the middle of this. I think it was 2011 the last time. Nope, that was 2010, I believe. 2010, and this is interesting. Joe Burns just kind of fell off the map because it was 2010 the last time South Pittsburg got a win in the state championship, the last state championship they won was they played Joe Burns in the championship final in Cookeville, and they won 41-6. So there's a little bit of history there. Because of the way that the brackets have been received, the realignments have gone down, Joe Burns has kind of moved more east because there were a lot of private schools in the 1A, 2A, and 3A divisions because, a lot of the bigger private schools were like, hey, we don't even want to compete with the bigger schools, right? So Joe Burns at 4. Gordonsville is a team that can come out of nowhere. They always have a good program. But that matchup against Copper Basin and Gordonsville, if that happens, if these projections are right, which I'm going to go on the basis that they're probably going to be right, because otherwise I wouldn't put these out there. I know I could be wrong, but I would like to be right? Copper Basin and Gordonsville, that will be a really good matchup, and that would be at Copper Basin. And that's going almost to Nashville up in Smith County, all the way down to Polk County. So that's a long drive for Gordonsville. And Gordonsville, really, I think they have played Clay County and Gordonsville have played, and I believe Clay County got the win. That's why I projected them to be above. So basically, there's not really a way for Clay County to. And by the way, Gordonsville plays Monterey, so they could potentially move that seeding up and get another game. Because anybody that has to go out to Copper Basin, that's going to be a rough game, and I wouldn't want to be Monterey, the number 1 seed, going out to Copper Basin because that is a long drive. But that's basically your Class 1A. If you have any questions about that, please comment in the descriptions. I know. So let's go ahead and go to the next division. Let's go into the next classification, I should say. Class 2A. Now, the thing about Class 2A is we have teams in Region 2 and Region 3. Region 2 and Region 3 are not paired up. They're odd and even region, but they're not paired up. So Region 2 is paired with Region 1, and Region 1 goes all the way up. You can see Hampton. I don't know if you see Hampton. Hampton played Marion County a few years ago in the semifinals on the way to Marion County being at the state title game. They didn't win that year. But I remember going to that, and it was out in the middle. It took 5 hours to drive from Chattanooga, not even my house, Chattanooga, all the way up to Hampton. So that's a pretty good far ways away. And I know we're far ways away, but Meigs County actually goes more toward Knoxville region and that kind of area, where the other regions you'll see right here, Tyner, they go more toward Chattanooga, and then they face regions out toward Murfreesboro and out toward Middle Tennessee. That's kind of what you're looking at there. But let's look at this real quick. Meigs County, we anticipate having the number 1 seed. They have locked down a playoff spot with a 2-0 record because there is an 0-2 Wartburg, and they have played Cumberland Gap already. They did beat Cumberland Gap. So technically speaking, and they did beat Rockwood too. So they beat Rockwood and Cumberland Gap. So 2 of the bottom 3 in that region they have beaten, and they have horrible records. So basically, Meigs County and Oneida, you'll see right here, Oneida, they have the other bye. They have the other clinch. The thing about Oneida is Oneida and Meigs County play this week. I don't anticipate Oneida having an upset, but if Oneida does upset Meigs County, they already have wins against the other 3 teams in that region, Cumberland Gap, Wartburg, and Rockwood. So all Oneida has to do to get a number 1 seed is beat Meigs County. And if they lose to Meigs County, they get a number 2 seed. That's the worst case scenario for them, right? So basically, and there's some other teams here. Wartburg and Rockwood are probably going to battle it out for that last spot. They're both 0-2. Cumberland Gap, they did get a win over, I believe it was Wartburg. So basically what you're looking at here is this is probably how it's going to be for the Meigs County thing, other than the 4 seed, because basically this week, week 9, we'll find out who that 4 seed is going to be because Rockwood and Wartburg play. I anticipate Wartburg, because of the schedule they played and because of the kind of competition they played, will be the number 4 seed, but that could change come next week. So let's look at this. South Green. Let's just look at this other region really quick because I don't want to get into these regions that you don't know really well, especially with Meigs County being the only team on this side of the bracket that you're probably going to know down here. Sullivan North at number 4. Number 3 is going to be Hampton. Hampton has a long drive. Happy Valley is a long drive too at number 2. And basically last week I had Happy Valley at number 1 and South Green at number 2. I basically moved them down 1 because I saw that South Green had another district region win. And I saw that it was probably a better team than I anticipated last week. So that's what you're looking at there. All right, let's go to the next region right here. Tyner Academy. They have clinched a playoff spot. They are, I believe, 3-0. Okay. In the region, they have one more game, and that's against Polk County, who is not even projected to make the playoffs. So I anticipate them being 4-0 in the region. Now, the top two teams still have Polk County on their schedule. Bledsoe County and Tyner both have Polk on their remaining schedule. And Bledsoe County also has Tellico Plains, which is the number 4 seed. Marion County on their schedule, they have Tellico Plains. So basically, I don't see Marion County getting out of that 3 spot because basically they would have had to have beat Bledsoe to get out of that 3 spot because of the competition. Now, Tellico Plains plays Tellico Plains. They don't play Tellico Plains. They play Marion County and Bledsoe County. So potentially, now I don't see this happening because Tellico Plains has been a strong team this year, just not as strong as Bledsoe or Marion, I don't think. Tellico Plains could really, they won't get the number 1 seed, but, they've got the opportunity in the last 3 weeks to move up and get a home playoff spot. And they have to beat Bledsoe County and Marion County within both within a 3-week span, but that is possible. Now, some names you're going to recognize here. Watertown, they were really good last year. Trousdale ended up going to the state title game and upsetting both Tyner and Meigs County. So this right here is troubling for anybody in the Chattanooga area that if they're going to be the number 2 seed. Right now, as it stands, Trousdale is 2-1. The only loss they have is to Watertown. Trousdale has one loss to Watertown. I anticipate Trousdale winning out. This number 1 is going to stay for Watertown. It's going to stay. There's no way it's going out. All right. It's mathematically possible. They still have 2 games against Jackson County and East Robertson. East Robertson, the 3 seed, and Jackson County isn't even projected to make the playoffs. But Trousdale County will probably be your number 2. They have played East Robertson, and they beat East Robertson. So East Robertson, basically, if they beat Watertown, that would create a 3-way tie. I don't anticipate that happening. But basically, then Westmoreland, by the way, they moved into the playoff hunt. I had Cascade there. But Cascade, of course, they lost. They lost, and Westmoreland. I anticipate, by the way, Westmoreland has East Robertson and Cascade, so Westmoreland can really make a case for it. I project them to be in there because I project them to beat Cascade. And really, that's all they're going to need to do is beat Cascade, really. So we'll go from there. And so let's move on to the other side of this. Let's move on down to 3A. This is the 3A region here. And the interesting thing about 3A is there is a 3 and 4 region 3 and 4. I'm sorry, I hadn't even been updating this thing over here. We're down to the 3A over here. We're in regions 3 and 4 in 3A both have Chattanooga area teams. So we kind of get a clean playoff bracket with a bunch of teams from the Chattanooga area. Now, one of those teams, Grundy County, is not projected to make the playoffs. Neither is McMinn County or Brainerd. Basically, what we have here is at number 1, and I actually had Loudon at number 1. This is Loudon right here, by the way. I actually had Loudon at number 1 last week. After the Red Bank win over Ray County, I said, this is just too impressive. Red Bank is probably going to be your number 1 seed. They're probably going to be Loudon. So, but remember, both of these teams play each other, okay? So they play each other in week 11. So this number 1 seed will come down to the last week. I project that Red Bank will have it, but it will come down to the last week. Loudon, on the other hand, they have Sweetwater, who is the number 4 seed right here. So Sweetwater could really make a case. Sweetwater automatically has a playoff berth. And Sweetwater and Signal Mountain will play in week 11, and that will probably be for your 3 and 4 seed. So Signal Mountain does not have a playoff berth clinched, but I anticipate they will beat Sweetwater. I anticipate they will beat McMinn Central. All they really have to do is beat McMinn Central, and they automatically have a playoff berth. And then all your playoff teams will be set. It just comes down to seeding. We'll find out in week 11 that 3 and 4 seed will be a battle between Signal Mountain and Sweetwater, and the 1 seed will be a battle between Red Bank and Loudon. Now let's look at the other side of this bracket here. Upperman is clearly your number 1 seed. I know there's not been a lot of. They're only 2-0 in the region in a 6-team region. They're only 2-0, so they have basically 3 more games they have to play. They play all of those this week, I believe. Maybe I'm missing some. I think I've messed it up. Yeah, I think I have messed it up. I hadn't finished that off, but they're 3-0 or whatever. So let me take a quick break real quick. I'm going to go look at this because I need to have it in front of me because I don't want to misinform you because I didn't have it written down like I thought I did. So let's look at this real quick. I'm going to Handy Dandy Coach T. They have things that I need, basically the scores and such, not all this. They are 2-0. Okay. But so this is a region where this kind of mixed, and because there's an odd number of teams, you can't really do it every other week like on clockwork. Upperman is probably going to be your number 1 seed. The 2 teams they have left are Sequatchie County and Grundy County. And even if they lose to Sequatchie County, they hold the tiebreaker over Smith County and York, who would probably be the only ones to threaten that. But I will say this, Sequatchie County with a win over York, who is your number 3 seed right now, projected to be your number 3 seed, Sequatchie County can take the number 1 seed easily. Okay, now it's going to be a little bit harder for Smith County. They're going to have to hope for a loss. But basically, if Sequatchie County wins out in their region, they have York Institute, Grundy County, and Upperman in that order in weeks 9, 10, and 11. If they win those games, they'll have 1 region loss to Smith County, and basically Upperman holds the tie over Smith County, and it would go to Upperman holds the tie over Smith County, who would hold the tie with Sequatchie County, and Sequatchie County could have that number 1 seed if they went out. So really the destiny is in Sequatchie County, who is your Chattanooga area team. Smith County, a really good team. I like to see this. They have really, after the season they had last year, they have really stepped up and become a great team and a great program. And they've always been a program that has been in the playoffs and a team you don't want to play year in and year out in the playoffs. So there's that. So let's look at number 3. What was the number 3? It was Sequatchie County. Number 4 seed was York Institute. I anticipate Sequatchie County beating York. That is always a tough game for them, and they always seem to give up a lot of points, even though they score a lot of points in that one. So this 3, Sequatchie County right now at the end of this, because we have 3 all these teams in this region basically have region games left. They all have 3 region games left. Everyone took their bye like last week. So basically what you could see is Sequatchie County, and you could see Sequatchie County being out of the playoffs if they lose out, which I don't anticipate. I anticipate that they will lose. If they lose, they'll lose to York Institute and Upperman. They probably won't lose to Grundy County. They could end up being anywhere from the 4th spot to the 1st spot. And all they have to do is win to get that 1st spot. They don't have to wait for anything. So that's a good position to be in. Let's go to 4A real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up while I'm talking about this. As you'll see, at number 1, I have Anderson County. Interesting enough, Anderson County has just been impressive, and I think they'll make a run this year. I got to give them props. They've held this region down since this region has started, really. And so they'll be at the top. Right now, though, in the standings, East Hamilton is at the top. No one has claimed a playoff spot, and no one has been eliminated from a playoff spot in this region. So there's still a lot up for grabs, right? Like I'm talking about, like Sequoia, who is 0-8, could still grab a playoff spot. They're going to have a lot of help, and if they could beat Anderson County and East Ridge. Those are 2 of the tougher opponents, 2 out of the 3 tougher opponents in this region. I say it's impossible, but it's technically possible, I guess, mathematically, statistically. So we'll look at that. And number 2 in this region is East Hamilton. I've got them projected. East Hamilton is 4-0. Anderson County is 3-0. They play each other in week 10. So we'll find out a lot about both of these teams. I think we'll find out if East Hamilton can compete. And we haven't seen East Hamilton go up against Howard, who was really going to be the 2nd seed in this region after that Tyner loss. And me and Chris at SCT and Preps had both of them in there. And I need to change my little slide here because we're on to the 4A playoff projections. Look at that. Whoa. All right. Look at those shiny new graphics I've got. They're not really shiny, but they're okay. But anyways, what I basically got here is Anderson County 1, East Hamilton at 2, Howard at 3. I originally would have had them at 2. If you'd asked me 3 weeks ago where they would be, I would say they would be the number 2 seed. But honestly, they just kind of looked a little bit less than I thought they would, and they got blown out, like completely blown out by Anderson County. Didn't score a point, blown out, 42-0. Anderson County is just that good, but can Anderson County hold off East Hamilton? East Hamilton will score a lot of points. You're not going to hold East Hamilton down, so it's going to be a shootout. Yeah, sorry, that's going to be a shootout. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's a little later at night. This is pre-recorded. Sorry. But thank y'all for tuning in. All right. So basically, what we have going on in this is that the number 4 seed is East Ridge. They beat Chattanooga Central, and East Ridge has also has not played Hickson. I anticipate they will win against Hickson and Sequoia. So basically, I anticipate them having another region loss against Howard. And that would put them roughly at 3-3 on the season, which would give them the 4 seed at 3-3 in the region on the season. They're 1-2 right now, so that's why I've got them where they are. And I think they make a good case. Once they beat Chattanooga Central, I knew that this was probably going to be a team that was going to make the playoffs. Now, I could be surprised. If Hickson beats East Ridge, they can make the playoffs, and that's something for a team that is 1-6 right now that could really boost the morale of that program. On the other side of this, real quick, Greenville, they actually have a worse record than Elizabethton. I don't know how you say that. I don't know how you say it, honestly. But Elizabethton, I'm going to say Elizabethton because I got that accent. So they actually have a worse record than Elizabethton. I anticipate, though, these two teams have not played, right? So I anticipate that Greenville and Elizabethton will be the two teams that you'll need that will meet up, and that will determine the first seed. By the way, I think they play next week, either this week or next week. They don't play the last week of the season. I know that, but these two, that team and that team right there, are going to be two of the tougher teams to beat in this area. If there are three teams that you should not want to play, it's Anderson County, Elizabethton, and Greenville, because they are all really, really, really good. And a dark horse in this region, East Hamilton, because they can score a lot of points, and they are under Grant Reynolds, a coach that has revitalized that program. So let's go on to the next one real quick. I'm going to actually get my graphic up in front of this. Woo! Yeah, ahead of things. Yeah. Actually, I'm not. But anyways, let's look at this. This is an interesting bracket because if you'll notice, there's an X, there's an X, there's an X, and there's an X. This is only a 4-team region for Ray County, Soddy-Daisy, Walker Valley, and the North City. North City is winless, and they have played all 3 other teams, so they will be the 4 seed. There's no way around that. Walker Valley, I believe, let me look on that really quick. I will have my ducks in a row. I just didn't have time to get some of the bigger regions on here like I did last time. So Walker Valley football. I'm just making sure I just want to make sure I'm right, because I don't want to give y'all false information. And you come and be, well, you're stupid, man. Basically, Walker Valley still has the chance to play Soddy-Daisy. So at best, they can still get the number 1 seed. Soddy-Daisy would have to beat Ray County, and Walker Valley, they still need some help, but Walker Valley could potentially get that number 1 seed. And it was a close game between Ray County. It was only a 6-point game, 27-21. So it's not out of bounds to think that Walker Valley could play Soddy-Daisy and beat Soddy-Daisy. It's not out of bounds to think that Soddy-Daisy could beat Ray County. And if Soddy-Daisy beats Ray County this week, and in week 11 Walker Valley beats Soddy-Daisy, they would have the number 1 seed based on the tiebreaker, I believe when I look at that, because that would put so if Soddy-Daisy had 2 wins, that would put them at 2-1. Another win for Walker Valley would put them at 2-1, and a loss for Ray County would put them at 2-1. That would give you a 3-way tie. That would probably come down to who has the most wins overall, if that were a 3-way tie. So that would be Ray County. So really, Ray County, if they lose to Soddy-Daisy, okay, they're not going to have the 1 seed. Soddy-Daisy will. But if they lose that, and then Saudi Daisy loses to and then Saudi Daisy loses to Walker Valley, that's a three-way tie. Ray County. So there's only one way that Saudi Daisy can get that one spot. Walker Valley is virtually out of the one spot. They can still get the two spot because they would have the win over Saudi Daisy in that scenario, and that would take the tie out. All right. Other side of this, real quick, West and Powell, those two teams meet up in week 9 this week, and it is going to be a great game. Knoxville is all a buzz about this game because it's two 5A schools that are really good and have some really good athletes. So that will determine who that number 1 seed is in that region, most likely. Oak Ridge is probably at number 3 right there. They're probably going to stay there. And Campbell County, I think Campbell County is in fight with another school there in that region. I don't have it pulled up right beside me. I'm about to pull up another region, so I'm not going to pull it up. But they have one other school they're competing with in that region. So it should be interesting. I think Campbell County will get it, but there's a chance that they won't. Let's go ahead and move on to to Class 6A. This is one of the more interesting regions. Man, I gotta get this pulled up for y'all. Y'all deserve better than this, man. I'm telling you. As I continue to do what I tell you deserve better than. Oh man. All right. On to Class 6A though. I think we got that graphic up. Yeah, we got the graphic up. We're looking nice. Maryville, I anticipate being the number 1 seed. They got the win over Bradley Central. Right now, I have Bradley Central as a 3. A lot of people would have them as a 2 in this region right now. But the reason I got them at 3 is because I anticipate that they played McMinn County. I believe they played them they played them in week 11. So basically this 2nd and 3rd seed scenario right here is down to the last week because I don't anticipate Bradley Central losing to William Blount, and I don't anticipate McMinn County losing to Cleveland. And so basically if they beat Cleveland, they'll lose to Maryville. They'll both have 1 loss. Maryville will with a win over McMinn County in week 10. If Maryville gets a win over McMinn County in week 10, they will lock down this number 1 spot right here. Now, if Bradley Central beats McMinn County, they'll move up to the number 2 spot. McMinn will move down to the number 3 spot. If McMinn County wins, things will stay as they are. Number 4, I have Ooltewah. This is going to be between Ooltewah and Cleveland. I don't see William Blount or Heritage making a run at this spot. I really don't because the 2 teams they have left are Cleveland and Bradley Central, and that's going to be a tough battle to beat both of those within 2 weeks. I've got Ooltewah right now. I think Cleveland could get it. I think Cleveland could honestly, and it's going to come down to the last week. Again, this 4 spot right here, if Cleveland wins, they get it. If Ooltewah wins, they get it because Ooltewah has Maryville and Heritage left. They can get a win against Heritage, go 2 and 3 going into that game, and I anticipate that Cleveland will go 2 and will be 2 and 3 as well. They'll get 1 win against William Blount, and they will play McMinn County, probably lose, and it'll come down to that. So this one will probably come down to the last week. So watch this right here. This one right here will come down to the last week. It'll be between Ooltewah and Cleveland. Let's take a quick look at the other side of this bracket. Donald's Bennett at number 1. They're undefeated. Clear lock. At number 2, we have Science Hill. This right here, I've kind of made some movements around here, as you can see. I had Farragut up at number 2. Farragut took a loss, so now they're down at number 4. And that was a region loss, by the way. They're down at number 4. I've got Science Hill moving up from 3, and I've got Bearden moving up. I believe it was, I don't have it in front of me, man. I'm so sorry. I am pulling it up. I'm making sure I get this right because y'all deserve better than this. I will have my ducks in a row next time. I just wanted to get this show on the road because it's late in the season. And I wanted to get everybody under wraps and kind of show them what they're looking at going into week 9 because we have 3 weeks left. You know what I mean? So let's look at this real quick. I'm looking, and it looks like Bearden. Who did I have? I had Jefferson County. I had Jefferson County at number 4. Ended up moving Jefferson County out because I believe they took a loss this week. Yeah, they took a loss to Bearden. I moved Bearden up to number 3. I moved Science Hill up to number 2, who was originally number 3. And I moved Farragut down 2 because they ended up taking a loss this week as well against Dobbins Bennett, who was the number 1 seed. But still, I've got them at number 4 right now. I think that they will basically, if they lose 2 out of their last 3 that they have left, they'll be in that kind of situation. So that's 6A. And now we get to the complicated brackets. Basically, what happens is, and this is going to be rough. I'm pulling up my TSSAA football rules because these brackets are complex. Because you have this is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous, dude. I'm telling you, I've got it pulled up here. All right. This is just the Division 2 1A. This is just the Division 2 1A here. All right. This is the Division 2 1A. This is not the AA or AAA. Okay. Basically, what you have is on this. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this real good. This side of the bracket, the top half of the bracket. Okay. All the East teams will be in this bracket. There are 3 regions in this bracket. This is the bracket for the entire state. Okay. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at the top part of the bracket. It is the East. Okay. This is not all the East, but all the East teams are in this side of it. And there's a misprint, huh? Y'all want to make fun of me real quick? Look at that. Friendship, not friend. Friendship. Okay. But anyways, this top half of the bracket. Oh, wow, that was kind of weird. This top half of the bracket right here. Let's get a better close on that right there. All the East teams are on this side of the bracket. All the West teams are on this side of the bracket right here. Okay. The tricky part is there's another division. There's a middle division in the other class. In the other private school classifications, there's an East, Middle, and a West. But in this part, there's only an East. There's an East, Middle, and West because there are more schools. So basically, what the TSSAA decided to do was, all right. So we're going to have our East teams on this side of the bracket. Okay. We're going to have our West teams on this side of the bracket, and the middle teams will kind of be dispersed throughout the whole bracket. Okay. So it's kind of complicated. So I'm just going to go through the Chattanooga bracket. Okay. Just to kind of give you, and there's only one school in this entire bracket. I made this entire, by the way, I'm crazy. I made this entire bracket just to tell you about this one little school right here. Okay. Grace Baptist, 6th seed, basically. I believe if they lose this week, and I'm pulling up my standings real quick so that I can get this right. All right. Boom. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Chattanooga Grace has not clinched a playoff spot. Okay. By the way, I haven't put this on here because I just messed this up. Friendship Christian at number 1. Okay. The Kings Academy all the way down here at number 2. Okay. Well, that's crazy. And they put some of the East teams over here as well. All right. But they put literally, this is the number 1 seed. Where was it? Where was it? I saw it. But there was a number 1 seed. Oh, maybe I'm screwed up. This is the wrong bracket, dude. Oh my gosh. I feel like such a freaking idiot. Because this is, okay, this Division 2, this has got the East in the middle right here, okay? This one just has the East and the West, but they're all mixed together, all right? So scratch everything I said before. These two are mixed together. I know what I'm talking about now. I just got screwed up on what I was looking. This is Division 2 1A, Division 2 AA. I'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so basically they're dispersed between all these. Here's the number 1 seed. Here's the number 1 seed from the West. Here's the number 1 seed from the East. Here's the number 2 seed from the West. Here's the number 2 seed from the East. The Kings Academy, okay, and Friendship Christian have already got a playoff spot. Now let's look at this, and there's also 2 others that have DCA, who is also in the East, all right, and Mount Juliet, who should be right about here. Now your number 5 seed from the East, which is Middle Tennessee Christian and Grace Baptist, have not got a playoff spot yet. Chattanooga Grace with a win, I think it's against Webb School. They get a playoff spot, and Middle Tennessee Christian with a win next week, I believe, gets into the playoffs and clinches a spot. Chattanooga Grace will likely be playing Davidson Academy, which is in Nashville. If they do get out of that, they will have the number 2 seed from their current region, who they lost to pretty bad earlier in the season. So Grace Baptist path to the playoffs is a really, really tough one. Okay. So let's move on. This is the one I was talking about a while ago. Okay, and that was that was AAA right there. This is the one I was talking about a while ago, where that's AA right there. Do I have another one down there? I don't have another one down there. Wow. I want to make it real quick. Sorry, this is my first episode, and once this episode is done, we'll be fine. So this is Division II AA. Okay, like I said, all the West teams are here. Okay, all the East teams are up here. Okay, the middle teams are dispersed throughout. Okay, right now I have Knoxville Grace at number 1. I did have Chattanooga Christian at number 1 right here. I moved them down to number 2 because they did actually lose to Knoxville Grace, and so that automatically, in my book, moves them down in there because of the way the seedings work. Now over here on the west side, I did have these two basically swapped because St. George's had a loss, so I moved them down. And Friendship Academy, I don't know what that sound was. Okay, kind of scared me for a second. I don't know what it was. Sorry, y'all just saw me forget on camera. I think this is Friendship Academy. No, this is First Academy. Okay. Anyways, that's what that is right there. And so basically, I'm just going to show you the Chattanooga area teams because I hate looking at the Division II playoffs because honestly, every team pretty much gets in except for like 4 or so out of the bunch. So we're looking at the Chattanooga area teams that got in. By the way, I don't have Notre Dame in the playoffs. I do have Boyd Buchanan and Chattanooga Christian. And oddly enough, after the first week, if these projections do pan out, we will have one Chattanooga area team in this classification. Why? Because they play each other right there. Boom. Okay. And I actually moved Chattanooga Christian down 1. If they had beat Knox Grace, these two teams could potentially meet up in where's that right there, the semifinals, but they will not. Okay, because unless Chattanooga Christian loses, then they could potentially. I think that moves them all the way down to. That moves them up here. They could potentially move right there at the semifinals again. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is Chattanooga Christian and Boyd Buchanan will probably play each other in week 1, and that's why I do not like the Division II brackets because they literally have two teams that play right next to each other. And by the way, I want to tell you this: the number 2 seed for this, they play the number 4 seed, but the number 1 seed plays the middle number 5 seed from the middle division. So it really makes no sense to me. I don't get it. That's why we're moving on to AAA, which is the last one we're going to talk about today, and actually have there we go. There's Division II AAA. Okay. Now I know this is a little grainy. I'm sorry if it's grainy. I just had it blown up because it's a small bracket. This is, by the way, Division II AAA. This is the bracket for the entire state. Okay, that's how many schools there are. Okay, so this is McCallie. They're at number 1. They've already clinched a playoff spot. I don't see them losing. They have beaten Knox Catholic and Brentwood Academy and Baylor, who are the 3 teams that would give them the most trouble. All right. Then we have Christian Brothers. Okay. Wow, this is going long. I'm going to try to speed this up really quick at the end. And then I didn't mean to talk about Christian Brothers. I'm talking about Christian Brothers. Number 2, Baylor, you've got them there. Basically, Baylor can either make the playoffs or they can miss the playoffs with 2 weeks. They play Brentwood Academy within the next few weeks. And they also they did play Knoxville Catholic. They did beat them, or they played them this week. Excuse me, they didn't beat them. So basically, they play Knoxville Catholic and Brentwood Academy, and if they win those 2 games, they basically get this number 2 spot. Okay, because McCallie has already beaten them up here. Okay, the number 3 spot I've got Brentwood Academy. Number 4 I've got Christian Brothers right now. I think that one will move. That was from the West, actually. Sorry, Ensworth. I've got number 4. We could potentially see Knoxville Catholic in this spot. I think they still play each other, so this is a possibility. But this is your post-week 8 projections, and this is before week 9. So if you went through week 9, you're watching this video or whatever, disregard it because we'll come out with a whole new video next week for week 9. And these will be published on sctmpreps.com as well as on Facebook and Twitter. We will release these post week 8 brackets. And we will continue this. And by the way, if you're watching this and you don't know about SCTM Preps, I'm Chandler Morrison. I do a show with Chris Goforth every week, twice a week. It's SCTM Preps. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, and you can find it on podcast.com. We try to post some of the episodes to Facebook if they're really, really good. And you can also keep up with high school sports or high school scores, high school football scores on Friday night. If you follow at SCTM Preps on Twitter, you can also follow me at Sports Chandler on Twitter as well. We'll also put those score updates in the Chattanooga area high school football Facebook group. Be sure to go join that. But I'm Chandler Morrison. This has been your post week 8 playoff projections. That's a mouthful, I know. So just hang out. If you liked it, cool. If you didn't, oh well. But if you had any questions or wonder why it's set up some way, please comment and let me know, or just message me and I'll answer your questions about the playoff projections. Even if you just want to know what I think the odds are that your team makes the playoffs, I'll tell you. If they're 0, I'll tell you, or if they're 100%, or if they're 50-50, and I'll tell you who you have to beat. So, and I think next week we're going to get into our playoff scenarios where if you beat this team, you're in. If you lose to this team, you're in. You're out, or something like that, like the NFL does. The last 2 weeks, like they have to get a win here and another team has to lose. We'll look at all that too, and we'll kind of get in that situation. So I'm Chandler Morrison. We'll see y'all later. This has been your post-week 8 playoff projections for the Chattanooga area high school football playoff.